This much to be true. Credit is difficult to come by, this despite bank bailouts and an attempt by the government to open up lending. So what is the problem and how do we get out of this credit crunch? Joining us now from Washington, D.C. in a First on Fox Business interview is Karen Mills, administrator of the Small Business Administration. Ms. Mills, thank you very much for joining us. By your notes, only about 40% of small businesses are seeing their credit needs met, down from 61% a few years earlier. What has happened, and what are we doing to fix it?
You know, access to credit for small businesses is still a problem. I travel all around the country, and we have small businesses who want to expand. They want to take that next order. They're just seeing maybe they can come out of this recession, lead us into the recovery, but they can't get access to credit. You know, the banking market really froze. At the SBA, we've been able to give loan guarantees to about $30 billion worth of loans, and that's helped a lot of small businesses, but there's more to do. That's why we've asked Congress to pass a new small business jobs bill and help get us more credit out there.
Karen, speaking of jobs, we had Scott Roberts on, owner of Salt Lick Barbecue down in Texas. And this is something that wouldn't cost the American public anything. He said, we really need to know what health care is going to cost us, and we need to know what our tax rates are going to be. Until we get clarity on that, we have 100 jobs we could create but won't create until Washington tells us what the road is going to look like. What do you say to that?
Well, we have actually done quite a bit right now on tax credits that are available to small business. Already, the HIRE Act means that if you're a small business, it's important to look at this, and you hire somebody who's been employed 2 months, you get a tax credit right now. In the health care bill, right now, about potentially 4 million of the 6 million small businesses are available for a health care tax credit, and that's something that the IRS has great advice. You can come to our website and see if you're can access a tax credit that is available to you right now in 2010. There's a number of these tax credits, accelerated depreciation, and some other tax loss carrybacks that we've already instituted. So small businesses right now can take advantage of a lot of these, and we're trying to make sure that they know about them so that they can get that money back. Any dollar right now in the hands of small business is the thing that makes the difference.
What about the banks, though? I mean, you guys have been doing your part. You've been lending out or guaranteeing some loans, and as you noted, you basically ran out of money. But we can't go further, and I think the American public is probably a little bit nervous about adding more on the debt side to the government. How do we get the banks to lend more? Many of these banks receive taxpayer TARP money, which they are hoarding. How do we get them to open up?
Well, you know, you've hit the nail on the head. Banks are stepping up right now for small business, but we need them to do that even more. With the SBA guarantees, they're able to take less risk and reach further down that credit and help that small business. And on their own, they're stepping out. A number of the big banks have already formed partnerships, and they're going forward into the small business market. What we're doing at the SBA is that we are helping people not just with capital, but with counseling. We're getting them ready with their loan package to put their best foot forward for the bank. Because it's not just the money they need, it's the advice and the information so that they've got the tools they need so they can grow and create the jobs. It's not government that creates the jobs, it's these small businesses. Our role is to give them the tools.
And listen, and you would admit that, Karen, listen to small business owners, and many of the ones that I talk to, both publicly and privately, feel like that the White House isn't listening. And what Scott from Salt Lick was referring to is, what does the tax code look like even at the end of this year when the Bush tax cuts are set to expire? That's the kind of concern and uncertainty that he was really referring to, not the credits that are in place today.
You know, small businesses, I travel all around the country, and they really understand that this is a country of entrepreneurship. The president has stood up for small business in this small business jobs bill. He's put before Congress a whole array of things that are going to help small businesses. And there have been at least 4 tax cuts that have already come in the hands of small business. So we are going to make sure that small businesses have that support. have those tools. And not just small businesses on Main Street, our great entrepreneurs, some of our immigrants who come here and build some of the strongest, biggest businesses we have. We're going to make sure that they have the support that they need so that they can go forward and create the jobs.
Do you believe, as the administrator of the SBA, that the health care plan is good for small business?
Absolutely. We know that healthcare is the #1 concern of small business. In the NFIB survey since 1986, they've been saying they can't get access to affordable care. First, they get the tax credits that I described earlier.
Yeah, but now you're going to fine them if they don't get health care. You're going to fine them. How is that helping small business?
That actually is not in the legislation. That's not true.
If they have more than 50 employees, they have to provide health care.
The number of people who have more than 50 employees that are only affected if one of their employees goes into the pools is less than 10,000 small businesses. Almost every small business above 50 is right now covered or is going to have a benefit from being able to go in the exchanges. The benefits of this small business health care bill are absolutely enormous, and small businesses can get those benefits both today with tax credits and in 2014 when they're going to be able to go on exchanges. Their premiums are going to go down. That's what the studies have shown. So this is going to meet a need that has been the #1 concern of small business since 1986.
But the people we talk to look down at 2014 and worry about that fine, and they say to us, because of the uncertainty about the tax code and the uncertainty about what health care means to them, they're not willing to step it up right now. What do you say to them? Because they're the ones who are hiring.
Right now, they should look at the tax credits that are available to them today. That's going to be dollars in their pockets today. That's going to help them today. I travel all around the country, and I've heard from people, if they can provide health care, they consider their business a success. They want to provide health care. Employees of small businesses are like families, and this gives them cash back in a tax credit right now. That's good for small business. The pools are good for small business. There's no uncertainty about what's coming to them in the benefits that they're going to have this year and coming forward. Small businesses need access to affordable health care. That's what this legislation provides.
Well, Karen, I know where you are. You're on top of the Chamber of Commerce, are you not? I know that shot. And you better talk to the CEO, Tom Donahoe, because they're not necessarily on board with the health care. They're 3,000 plus constituents. They represent the small businesses that you're talking about.
The small businesses all around the country, and Tom and I have had great talk about this, really are stepping forward, and they're finding out what's really in this legislation and how it provides tax credits today and access to marketplaces that are competitive. Right now, small businesses don't have that access, and they need it, and they're going to get it.
Community banks, thousands of them, were not helped by TARP. Would you say that TARP was a failure when getting money to community banks and getting it to small businesses?
Right now, the president has asked for the Small Business Lending Fund, and that would provide $30 billion to community banks at a rate as low as 1% if they up their lending to small business. That's the kind of activity that community banks want to do, and that program is right now before Congress, proposed by the president in his State of the Union. We look forward to having that pass, getting that capital into the community banks so they can get it in the small businesses and they can create the jobs.
Karen Mills, administrator of the SBA, thank you very much for joining us on Fox Business. We know you've been putting in the air miles just out of Alaska, too, so safe travels, and hope to speak to you again.
Thank you.